Hey everyone, in my last tutorial I showed you guys how to do a simple hair setup like this one here, the styling and so on. So this is now part 2 of the tutorial, and I will be showing you how to set up materials so that we can render this hair in cycles and it'll look beautiful, hopefully. Okay, so before we start, I just want to go over a few settings that I didn't properly cover in the last tutorial, I think, and I should just go over them again. So select the hair mesh, the hair system, and go to your particle settings tab. Here in the B-spline thingy, I noticed that it actually does help to put this a little bit higher, and the same here with the steps setting. So going from 5 to about 6 or 7 should be good. Okay. Yeah, that's about it. And also I think the thickness here. Okay, now this thickness setting, by default it's set to 1. Okay, and that's far too thick in most cases. So I've noticed that a setting of about 0.2 or 0.1 or some such is usually a lot better, but this does depend on the size of your model. If your model is, say, this big, that's like a huge big thing, I think this thickness setting here works according to the size of your model. So just keep that in mind, and if you notice that the hair looks way too thick or way too thin, it's probably the fact that the size of the model is too large or too small. So this is a bit of a trial and error, but I think you'll get it right after a few tries. Usually it's about a setting of 0.2, 0.3 thereabouts. That's good. Okay. I think mine was set to 0.25, was it? Right, let's get started. So we'll start with the basic hair, with a basic diffuse shader like this here. Hang on. Okay, yeah, diffuse shader right there, and let's add in basic stuff that we'll probably be needing for this. Mix shader and hair BSDF. Cool. Now, hair BSDF, you've probably tried it before, and well, it has 2 modes, right? So the first mode, the default one here, is reflection. Now this controls how light is reflected off the hairs. So this works a lot better than the normal glossy shader here. This reflection here is made especially for hair, apparently, and yeah, it just gives better results most of the time. And the second mode is called transmission, and this basically controls how the light bounces around and reacts within the hair, like within the volume of the hair. Okay, I think transmission also means that if light comes from behind the model, it will sort of scatter through it and make a sort of a highlight, like that nice effect that you see in many hair photos and renders, this sort of thing. I think that transmission is also responsible for some of that. So yeah, it has 2 modes, and we're going to be using both of them. Right, so first one, reflection. We'll mix it with a diffuse shader, right? And so we want our diffuse shader to be the main color of the hair. So it's like these two are going to be working together to get the final result of the hair. So if you wanted, say, funky blue type of hair, you typically put your diffuse shader to a darker value of blue, and then the transmission and diffuse are to be mixed. So if you wanted, say, a blue color, you'd put your diffuse to a darker shade of blue, and then your transmission to a lighter shade of blue, like so. And this should give you a bluish color. So same goes for any other color. So if you wanted, say, brown, you'd set your diffuse, your base color, to brown, and your transmission would be more of a red color. So it's just like a lighter version of that color. Actually, you can hold your cursor over your base color, your diffuse, Control C, and then hold it over this transmission color, Control V, and it effectively pastes it in there, the color value. And in this, you just boost the value to, well, pretty high, maybe even almost 0.9 thereabouts. So we've got two colors, and the transmission value is just a lighter version of the base diffuse color. Cool. Now we want to add in our reflection shader, and so do this by getting another mix shader, dragging that in there, and the reflection value, the color, is pretty much always white, but it's not, it doesn't have any color, so it's always desaturated, but it's not 100% white. So you want to go to about, in my experience, from about 0.7 to about 0.4 should be good for most lighting conditions. So very rarely do you actually go 100%, and you never have zero reflection. So it goes to about right there. Cool. And then offset, yeah, this sometimes helps to tweak it a little bit, sometimes not, doesn't matter. I think I'm going to leave it to 0 for now. And then we'll set the roughness down to about 0.075. There we go. That's really not very glossy, not very rough, I mean. Okay, and next up, we want to add in a translucent shader. So shader translucent, BSDF, that one there. Add that in, and what this translucent is going to be doing is basically going to be adding this white, this very white rim. As I said before, the transmission shader should technically be taking care of that, I believe, but I rarely find that it's enough, and I always add in this little extra translucent shader to give it that white boost. So we're gonna go be doing that. You can leave it at white, and I think the mix value should pretty much stay right there where it is. Actually, this doesn't have to be 100% white. Go about right there. Okay. Now this is all very simple, and believe it or not, this is all that it takes basically to get you a good hair shader. So if we go ahead and render that, let's just rename this hair main. Cool. Oh, hang on. Just, okay. This is what we get. I just paused the render, so yeah. So this is at 140 children's strands. So here's what we got, and you can see what this translucent shader here is doing. It's giving me that little extra boost over there, and then the diffuse, the main base color is putting in those dark areas, and then this transmission color is more subtle, but these two together give you that color over there, and then the translucent shader here gives you that nice backlight thingy. And if you're wondering, my lighting setup right here is super basic stuff. I've got what is this called? A key light, a full light, and a rim light. And this rim light coming from behind is pretty strong, strength 3, and it's got a slightly bluish tone to it. And with this lighting setup and this material, you'll get these results right here. This is all great, good and well, and you could probably use this just as is, but there are a few things you can do to make this better. So first thing you want to go to your layer and you want to separate the hair from the face. So and render them on different layers so that you could tweak the face and the hair separately. So move the hair, the scalp, to a different layer. So now you've got this and this, and then add in a different, under the scene tab here, add in a different render layer. First one we'll call face, second one will be hair, and for the face we'll select only the layer that the face is on, this layer right here, and the lighting layer, of course, which is this one right here. So we got those two. No, sorry, here, layer. And then for the hair, we select only the hair layer with the hair and the lighting setup. So, oh, and for the hair, just remember to mask out the face layer. That way, whatever's on the face layer will sort of just cut a hole wherever that is, so we can just stick the hair on top of that. Now we've got them separated onto two layers, and on each layer you want to enable the passes that you'll be using. So transmission, well, for the face you don't need much, not in this tutorial. We'll just go with the basic stuff. And then for hair we'll use the transmission direct, glossy direct, and I think AO, and possibly diffuse direct. I think I'll maybe using this because we're going to be compositing this hair to get it to look good in the compositor, and for that we're going to need these passes right here. So now make sure you've got all the layers enabled and re-render that. Okay, so now we have this weird thing here, and you'll see she doesn't have any hair. Well, that's a problem. Don't worry about that. It's because we separated the render information to different layers. So if you go to hair, you'll see it's got the hair right there, and in the face without any hair, but still shadows casted from the hair. So this shape of the face, you'll see, has been cut out of the hair, and that's because we enabled masking for the hair layer. So that mask over there for the hair layer is masking out whatever is on that layer, which is this right here. The skin is being masked out. You can see that. Okay, so let's composite this together. I'm going to go into my node editor, compositor. Okay, so let's duplicate this input layer and set it to hair. Okay, and you'll notice for the hair we've got all these different input passes. So we've got glossy direct, transmission direct, all these ones we enabled over here. So let's bring in a color alpha over, add the hair to the bottom, and I think the face to the top input. Let's just check that out. Cool, that looks great, but I think we can get this to look better. So let's quickly add in a background by going to adding another alpha over, setting that to the bottom, and make this whatever background color you want, or you could always put an image in there, it's fine. Something like that ought to be good. Yeah, looks good. Let's see. Okay, this looks pretty good, but we can actually do a couple of improvements to the hair. The reason I like rendering it all in layers is because now I can actually bring in a color RGB curves node and kind of tweak the color of the hair, and you'll see the skin doesn't change. So we can make it darker, lighter, whatever, so that's great. And then we can add in a color mix and then we can add in the transmission direct. Now the transmission direct, if you look at it on its own, it's basically just a pass that contains the transmission information for the hair. So if we mix that with the hair shader, as like so, and use the alpha of the main hair pass and plug it into the mix factor, we've got the transmission pass on top of the main hair pass. And then we can set this to, I think it's add or screen, I think it's screen, and then we just need a way to control the strength. That's easily solved by adding in a converter math node and setting it to multiply. So now we can control the backlighting of the hair, and actually we can also control the contrast by using a RGB curves node. And the color, of course, and I like to set in a little bit of red, take away those blues, and that looks great. So now we can control the exact amount of transmission, and we can control the color of the transmission and the contrast by using the transmission going into this screen color mix node and using the alpha of the hair pass to mix the two together. We can also add in a color mix multiply and mix that with the AO, the ambient occlusion pass, and what that does is it actually mixes in a little bit of ambient occlusion for the hair, so that looks great. That looks okay. What else? We can add in the glossy to control the gloss of the hair. If you don't like the gloss, you could always do the same thing here, but I'm not going to do that. I kind of like the gloss. And we can also do the diffuse direct. I might actually try that. So add in another mix multiply, go to the diffuse direct, add it in there, see what that does. Set the factor down really low, perhaps something like that. Okay, and as a final touch, let's tweak the color a little bit more. I think I want a little bit more red. Yeah, could work. Maybe a little bit more blue. You'll always go crazy. That's the beauty of working with layers. But I guess something like that will work fine. This bold patch here is bothersome, but easily fixed if you just go in and add a few more hairs over there using your particle editor. So we go in here, and we enable children just for a preview. Click on add and go ahead and add in a few here, set the count a little bit higher. Make sure interpolate is switched on, remember. And we'll just keep adding them in. And let's preview with a higher number of children. Set that to say 90. I just want to make the color of the hair a little bit darker, please. That should work. Looks a lot better. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so this is the end result, and this can always be expanded, and you can always add in textures to your hair to make it look even better, but this is like the basics, and in most cases this hair setup that I showed you in this tutorial is like, it works for most cases. So I hope you learned something, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. Thanks for watching.